Defense attorney Donna Rotuno there speaking at a pretrial hearing a couple of weeks ago, talking about the walker. She has said in other interviews that she is a pit bull in the courtroom and that she believes that as a female defense attorney, she can get away with a lot more harsh questioning in front of a jury than a male attorney could. Those are her words in interviews with the press in Chicago, which is where she primarily practices law. Let's go now to Law&Crime's Angelica Spanos, who's standing by outside New York Supreme Court here in Lower Manhattan. She was there for a news conference where many of Weinstein's accusers, including actress Rose McGowan, spoke publicly as Weinstein and his attorneys and prosecutors are inside court at that judicial conference. Angelica.
Well, Harvey Weinstein is inside that courtroom behind me right now, but the big scene is happening outside right now. Moments ago, a rally wrapped up that was led by Hollywood actresses, all of them standing here in solidarity with victims and survivors of sexual assault. Now, these were women who came to get their message heard that these women are not alone. We saw actresses Rose McGowan, Rosanna Arquette, and Louise Godbold all speaking out against Harvey Weinstein. These are also women who have accused Harvey Weinstein here of sexual misconduct. They were here with a large crowd surrounding them as they spoke about this. Let's take a listen to what they said.
This feels much bigger than the trial of just one man. I wonder whether you can give us a sense of its broader.
I mean, I hope it changes more for men. When you ask what's it going to change for women, we would like to see more change on the men's side. We would like men in power to know that they can't abuse their power, pay off their victims, and go about their business. That hopefully will not stand anymore.
We need the good men that there are to come and be our allies. And there are a lot of good men. Let's not taking down the men.
Do you regret that about 90, maybe 100 of victims, only 2 of them is it something that you regret, or is it at least that's something, that's a solve?
It's more than most get.
It's a product of his intimidation tactics. He silenced so many women. I mean,
Did you see the thugs that were surrounding him when he walked in? I mean, it was like a Scorsese.
Like he gets the protection, you know, his victims don't.
No.
And it's also a reflection of the statute of limitations, which silence people and make it impossible for them to seek criminal justice. Because, as Lou can probably speak to, trauma prevents you from speaking up until you process it, until you know you have an ability and a right to go to the police, go to the courts, and try to seek justice. So statutes of limitations need to be addressed so more of us can have a voice and have an opportunity to bring our abusers to justice.
Angelica, we listened to the words from the accusers there. You were there listening to it. A lot of animosity, a lot of frustration as we heard that the statute of limitations doesn't allow more criminal charges to come forward. But of course, we're hearing that LA prosecutors are looking into conduct there. So there's a sense that what happens in New York may not be the final criminal straw, at least for Harvey Weinstein.
Right, exactly. And when one of those actresses was questioned about a guilty verdict here, she said that she's not concerned. She thinks that those women inside will speak for themselves. They will not be silenced and their voices will be heard. She made it clear and emphasized that these survivors will not give up and they have the utmost of courage to come here and testify to begin with. She also said, and they all mentioned really, that the predators involved in these situations must be held accountable for their actions, and that alone can bring about change. We're live right now in Manhattan. I'm Angelica Spanos. Back over to you.
Angelica, I want to see if I can ask you a couple of more things here. Of course, this story came out late yesterday that Harvey Weinstein emailed CNN with a couple of questions and comments about his upcoming case. And he's basically saying, look, that he can't offer empathy to his accusers. He says he does have some empathy, but he really can't say much going up to his trial. But he's also suggesting that it's possible that if he beats these charges, he hopes to get back into his film career. So we're going to be talking about that as the morning goes on. Cheryl Dorsey, retired LAPD sergeant, I want to jump in with you here. We have these words from these accusers, and it's just a harsh juxtaposition with what Weinstein said himself in this email to CNN. It's rare to see a high-profile defendant basically just say, oh, yes, I'll answer some questions in writing on the eve of my trial.
Arrogance, pure arrogance. And you know, when I'm listening to his attorney and describe herself as a pit bull, you know, and being a female so she can get away with a lot more, see, that's what money gets you. That's what power gets you. And I'm sure she said all of that when she sold herself to him as the high-priced attorney that she is. You need me, you need a woman, I'm a fighter, and let's make it happen. It's offensive.
It's offensive, but is it necessarily wrong?
No, listen, I mean, that's his right. He has a right to do that just as much as the victims have the absolute affirmative right to speak with confidence and with specificity about what they were subjected to at his hands.
We did get a sense in some of the statements made over the weekend from that lead defense attorney, Donna Rotuno, that Harvey Weinstein is a sinner. He did things that are wrong, Cheryl, but that he didn't do anything illegal. Do you think that that defense tactic may ring in the ear of possibly one juror and then result in a hung jury here? Or do you think it's just way too little, way too late?
Well, it's hard to know, you know, how it's going to resonate with a juror. We don't even know the makeup of the jury, but I venture to say, and I said this before, that there's probably not a woman out there that hasn't been subjected to some form of harassment, whether it's just garden variety harassment, sexual harassment in the workplace, and retaliation. And so while they'll take an oath and promise to be impartial, you can't unknow what you know.
Mm-hmm. And of course, this is why we expect jury selection to go on for so long. The Weinstein defense lost motions to try to move this case to another venue in New York State. New York's a big state with 10 media markets, and all of the discussion about Weinstein down here in New York City may not be happening in Plattsburgh or Buffalo or Elmira or anywhere else in this state, but the courts held the trial here in New York, so that is where we all are. Of course, our own Jesse Weber inside that judicial conference happening as we speak. Angelica Spanos standing by outside the courthouse. More from that proceeding when we come back here on Law and Crime.